What's going on, family? Hope all is well with you. Hope y'all had a spiritual day. And, sometimes, man, we got to bring different people on here, man. And I brought my man on here. He committed. And then we got a double header. We got this, and then we got a comedian coming on at 9. So it's going to run real tight a little bit. So hopefully my man could drop it if y'all just coming on. You know the drill. Share this thing out. Let's get it shared in. We're going to pray the speaker in, drop them clean dates. Let's get your locations up. I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful to be alive, grateful to carry the message, man. I appreciate you, brother, getting on here, man, stepping outside yourself and getting uncomfortable, and supporting me and grabbing embraces, man. So I'm going to pray you in. I'm going to let God work. Our Lord Almighty God, I just want you to place hands on my brother and allow him to carry a clear-cut, honest message of recovery. That he just gets vulnerable and transparent on here and just touches that one person that is sick and suffering and the people that are clean but living dirty, Lord God. And just be with the people out there in America, this tough time, this pandemic, whatever they call it, this coronavirus, COVID-19. My brother struggles with any low self-worth, any lack of confidence, or any low self-esteem, that you just grab that off him and place a message to you. And that's all. Amen. My man, go ahead. Hold on. Inspirational freestyle recovery flow. Go ahead, baby.
I'm an addict named Brian. My clean date is 12/22/2018. And like my God works in mysterious ways, right? And so I met Carl. Actually, I was on a Zoom meeting for a 12-step fellowship.
Yeah.
And Carl was in the meeting. I think the meeting was based out of California or something like that. And I jumped on after work. I got off work late. And I jumped on and just kind of shared where I was at. And Carl ended up reaching out to me and then asking me to do this a short time afterwards. And like God works in mysterious ways for me, because usually when I'm struggling with something, I'm usually asked to do something like this, right?
It's crazy.
So it gives me an opportunity to remind myself as to why it is I continue to do what I do. So what's been going on with me, right, is real quick. About 5 days ago, I got a call about 1:30 in the morning, and this COVID thing ain't no joke. You remove the meetings, and the meeting makers don't make it no more. And it reminds me of where the solution lies for me, and I'm here through grace and mercy, and this is a God piece and a 12-step piece. This don't have nothing to do with attending meetings. And my phone rang, and I've had the opportunity to be a part of some recovery houses from down here in Pittsburgh, and me and a buddy of mine and a kid that got clean in my house and moved out, got his own place. He got all them things that he was probably praying for when he was on his knees in a jail cell, right? All those things we want, all those things we pray for. And, the house, the car, the pretty girl under his arm, kid got job and treatment, removed the drug from his life for about a year. And at 1:30 in the morning, my phone rings, and it was odd because I seen his name because he moved out about 6 months ago. And it was his girlfriend's saying, "Hey, Grilly, please come up here, bring Narcan, he's dying." And so obviously we jump in the car, get up there, and rush there and call 911 and that whole thing. And when we get there, he's like dead, right? And the only reason I share that is because, I don't really believe in the whole, and I was just talking to my boy Andrew about it last night. I don't really believe in the whole, some of us got to die so some of us can live peace. But the reality is that it's as tough as it was to see, and like from a physical standpoint, it opened up my eyes as to where the solution lies, and like a car, a house, an apartment, a girlfriend, all that outside shit don't fix this thing that I got, right? And you know, the very next morning after I talked with Carl, I got a call about 8:30 in the morning, and a dude I played some travel softball with passed away. So it's been like twice over the past like 4 or 5 days that this disease it comes at you, man. You know what I mean? Because I'm on the opposite side of this whole COVID-19 thing. I own my own general contracting business. I work in treatment 35, 40 hours a week. Like I said, I'm a part of some recovery houses down here in Pittsburgh. So I'm working 80, 100 hours a week throughout all this thing. My life didn't slow down at all. It actually got busier because I'm working more hours out the treatment center because they're taking everybody off the schedule. So like this Zoom thing's actually been like a blessing for me. For this right here, I met Carl through that whole situation. He knows my whole sponsorship family and this, that, and another. And I don't mind the Zoom thing. It gives me ability to check in whenever I need to check in before I check out. Just tell you guys a little bit about myself. So we got a little comedian going on here about 9 o'clock. So we're gonna do a hit and run. and so like I said, I'm from Pittsburgh, from over on the south side. You know, mom and dad both addicts. So I grew up around this thing. I never really knew what was going on in my life. I always grew up as one of them kids that's always said that I'll never grow up and be like my mom and dad. But I didn't have an understanding, and like you hear things through the fellowship that I participate in that change your life, right? And like the dude, my best friend today, shared his story from a podium years ago, and he said something about his mom and dad being an addict, and that the reality is that his mom and dad loved him to the best of their ability. The disease of addiction just didn't allow him to love him the way I wanted them to, or the way he wanted them to. And once I heard that, it changed my outlook against my parents, because I was resentful my whole life, right? How could I be mad at my mom and dad for something that I did to my kid, right? I ain't no different. So like coming up, we moved around a lot, man, because like I didn't really know what was going on at that point in time. But mom or dad would get an apartment, they'd fuck the money up, and we would move.
Yeah.
We would move to another, and it would be the most fucking ridiculous changes ever, right? One day we'd be in Pittsburgh, in the city of Pittsburgh, with a milk crate with the bottom cut out, screwed to a telephone pole playing basketball.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, we'd be out in the country in this place called Meadville. She married this other dude, and he wanted to go rabbit hunting with this fucking beagle and had me all dressed up in orange with shotguns, chasing beagles around, shooting rabbits, all this wild shit. And I was just like, get me out of here, man. Take me back down Pittsburgh. Give me the milk crate back. I ain't chasing rabbits around the woods and shit. I'm not doing all this. And
yeah.
And so like, point being is that we moved around a lot. I think I went to 9 or 10 schools in 12 years. So you hear people from a podium talk about that chameleon thing. Everywhere I went, I had the ability to make some friends. But I was really doing shit and acting the way they wanted me to, just so they would like me, right? Because in all reality, I was resentful at my parents, and I didn't really love myself or my situation. And so, like I said, I grew up, and I was always one of them kids that said, I'm never going to grow up to be like my parents. So, I was pretty good in school. I was a pretty successful wrestler. That's when drugs and alcohol started becoming a part of play in my life. And from the rip, I was different. My boys would go and drink on a Friday, go home 11, 12 o'clock, and party a little bit, and that was it. Like, I remember the first time I drank, I blacked out, came home 3 o'clock in the morning. My dad beat me up, and the next morning grounded me and all that other shit. And I didn't wake up that next day saying, God damn, I don't ever want to do that again. I woke up saying, when are we going to do that again? You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to get off grounding so I can go do that again. Just little situations like that. First time for cocaine use, hostage situation. My friends could get high. They'd go in the bathroom, take a line. They'd go out, play with the girls for a couple hours, come back in, do another line. Not me. It was a hostage situation. You was either staying in the bathroom or getting out the bathroom. Take your pick. That's when consequence, I'm a jail and institution guy, man. And that's when consequences start taking place in my life. The underage drinking, it started out and they say the disease of addiction is progressive in nature. Well, come to find out, so is fucking jails and institutions, right? Because like at first they give you a little citation or whatever for underage drinking and whatever, and then next thing you know, you're 18 years old and you're on probation. Then they violate your probation. Then you're sitting down there for a warrant for 72 hours. And then you come back out on the streets down in Pittsburgh with your little chest puffed out, talking about I just did 72 hours. And because like I was at a point in time in my life where I thought that shit was cool, man. I was fucked up. I didn't have an understanding as to what's really cool is like showing up for your fucking kid and showing up for your family. I wanted to show up for people on the streets. And that shit progressed, man. Next thing you know, I was sitting down there on violations for 6 months for dirty urines and then catching new cases. Then you're down there for 11 and a half, 23 months. And then next thing you know, you got a hockey score. And then the next thing you know, they gave you a football score. And you're sitting down there eating cheese, looking dumb as hell, not doing nothing in life, thinking with your hand on the window like this, looking out the cell door saying, what did I do now, right?
Yeah, I can identify with that.
So at some point in time throughout my journey, I was in a halfway house, and my hard head always made a soft ass, right? Because like I was really given this gift of recovery years prior, right? I just didn't hear what motherfuckers were saying, right? I was probably 22. I'm 33 years old now. I was probably 21, 22. And my sponsor was the director of operations at this clinical director at this facility, who we were talking about before, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had said, and he gives it to you raw, right? But like in an institutional setting, my ego was too big to take that shit in, right? And I would tell him certain things like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I ain't trying to hear that. I'm a grown-ass man. And he would grind me up and say, oh, yeah, you're a grown-ass man. Grown men don't sleep in twin beds, really.
Cool.
Or he would say, oh, yeah, well, you such a man. I just seen your dad drop you off cigarettes, titty boy. And I didn't hear that shit till I was like 29. Right? And it wasn't George's job to give me a step one. It was the drugs job. I wasn't done yet. So eventually, I was back at that halfway house for the third time. And I didn't want to live anymore the way I was living, right? At this point in time, now I had a kid that was about 3 months old. And I had met this dude, my friend Anthony, who changed my life, man. It's one of them people that are instrumental in your recovery that show up for you regardless of the situation, that call you on your bullshit. When you fall short, they let you know. When you do well, they let you know. And the dude's been a part of my journey since I met him, right? He's one of them dudes that you just identified with. We would sit in the halfway house. He was a tech there when I met him, and we would just cut up. But I didn't really know that I was cutting up. The message I missed was I was laughing, right? And like for 7 years prior to that, there ain't no laughing when you're sticking needles in your arm and you're living in jail. You know what I mean? Like when they look up at that point in time in my life, when they look up your address, your last known address, if it shows up as the county jail, you're in a fucked up spot in life. And so this dude changed my life, right? And I had no idea what recovery had to offer. All I know is that I got released. I got hooked up to a house arrest bracelet. My son's mother, I was out of jail for like 12 hours, and I knew I didn't want to go back to jail. She started tripping. So I had reached out to that dude who told me he had some recovery houses, right?
In the pantry.
And he had some recovery houses down here in the Pittsburgh area. And I really didn't even know what the fuck a recovery house was. I just knew that I didn't want to go to jail. And something about that house that I went to gave me a gift of recovery, right? It gave me something I was looking for my whole life, right? Because now I was a part of a unit. I was around a bunch of guys that had the same primary purposes as me, just to not take nothing a day at a time, right? So I managed to put some time together throughout that period. I ended up staying there for a little while because, and that was after a state mandated spiritual retreat. You guys might call it jail. And I stayed there for a while, and I start the dude that I had met there, and after staying there for a little bit, he gave me an opportunity to be a part of the houses, right? He gave me a part to manage one house, and then manage both houses, and then we had an opportunity to get a couple more houses, and then become like the director of operations of these houses. And then very short followed after that, I made a decision to use, right? Now I was like coming up on 3 years clean. I had no self-esteem because my teeth were so fucked up that I had made a decision to go get my teeth fixed, right? But what I forgot to do was take God with me to surgery, right? My ego was in the way. I got this. I reached out, asked for suggestions, and Anthony and these guys said they'll take you. And like subconsciously, I knew what I was doing prior to me even going there. I knew that I was going to end up taking some pills and try and get a free one. But what I didn't know is that my body didn't know between pill prescribed by the doctor or a pill prescribed by me. And I ended up taking my dad with me, whom I shared that he's also an addict, man. And like, he's like, no problem, Brian, I'll take you. And reality was, and me and my dad's relationship today is the best. The reality is that my dad just wanted some pills too. That's why he came. And I ain't mad at him for it. I get it. And He had me up in CVS with rags out my mouth and shit, up at the prescription counter in the pharmacy about 35 minutes after I just got 17 teeth yanked out my head, talking about, let me get these Vicodins. And like I said, thank God through the 12-step program that I choose to work, that I had the ability to work through some resentments and like work through all these things, because like I said, my dad's my best friend today, right? So like I said, I made a decision to use, right? And next thing you know, after having like a heart full of recovery and a body full of dope, it was the worst feeling I ever felt in my life, right? You had motherfucking 12-step members banging on my door, talking about come out. Y'all you can't get high fucking with y'all no more. Y'all fuck it up. And I found myself, at that point in time, I was engaged to a girl that like let's get fucking butt naked, who I was abusive towards, who I was like controlling towards, and let her know that it'd probably be a good decision for her to leave. You know what I mean? And that I used, and all these other things happened in my life. Next thing you know, it was like everything must go sale at the house. Me and her just got a house. Everything must go. I sold the whole, every piece of furniture, every candle, everything in the house. This lady came from West Virginia, right? I had posted these couches and shit like this on, because I'm like desperate to use, man. I'm willing to sell anything. Because I just want another one up in me, right? I didn't care about that girl whom I was engaged to. I didn't care about the shit in the house no more. I didn't care about showing up for my kid no more. The disease was up on me, and all I cared was about the next one. So I think I sold everything in the whole house. This chick needed a bunch of stuff for her house. She's going to college. Her and her dad showed up. I said, "Listen, man, just give me $600. Just empty the whole house out. I'm out." And so the next thing you know, right, the money runs out. I'm living in. I'm no longer living at that house. I'm living in the shed, in the backyard in that house, on patio furniture in the shed with a candle, with like needles and everything up in the shed, but with a heart full of 12 steps. I was in a fucked up spot, but I didn't have the ability to go back. I think I went to like 6 treatment centers in 90 days. I left AMA within hours of all of them. That thing was on me, man. And next thing you know, I find myself I get confused, right, Carl? I get confused, bro. Once I take the first one, I don't know the difference between your TV and my TV. And,
come on with it, yeah.
You know, I get real confused real quick, bro. Like, you know what I mean? You guys might call it burglary. I call it confused. So I found myself like robbing city cops' houses, doing anything to get the next one, and then very short afterwards, like with the SWAT team down the house, and me on myself on the way for another state mandated spiritual retreat, right? But I can tell you this: if I didn't go to jail very soon there, I would have died. That's how bad of a spot I was in my life, right? So I go away for 2.5 to 5. Now I'm talking about coming back to recovery after using, right? And you better be careful who the fuck you talk about around the rooms.
Right.
Because they might be your sponsor tomorrow.
Right.
So now I find myself with my tail tucked knowing that the only solution is to go show back up to these rooms, to like around guys that I sponsored, who now have more time than me. And like my ego and all that stuff will tell me that like I shouldn't go back here. And it'll have me in a fucked up spot, man. This disease will have me sitting in the house thinking that, like it's a better option for me to sit in the house than like to go show up to a meeting and help somebody. And more importantly, help myself, right? So like I get back out and I say, and like it got better, man. After about 90 days of just like showing up, sharing honestly that I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable about coming back after using. It got better, man. And reality is that I remember sitting in the jail cell, staring across the river at this club down here called, like at the Nala Club, or on like Friday nights, I'd be staring up the Hill District, wondering. That's a fucked up spot to be when you're sitting in a cell looking out the window at 8 o'clock, wondering what they're doing up Center Avenue. Or you're on the phone with your boys who are in recovery, and they talking shit, talking about we're going down to Vegas to the convention, and you're stuck, right? So, like I said, I ended up doing it two and a half years, and it was the toughest spot I've ever been in my life, because now that the principles and all these things that the 12 steps, put into my life, my values, none of that no longer align with an institutional mindset. So now you're stuck in jail for 2.5 years with a bunch of people who are sick that you have to try and fake it to make it for real, because you really don't want to be there. You'd rather be at a fucking meeting. And like there might be a meeting once a week, and there's 120 people on a pod, and only 3 of them are going, and they're all addicts. And the 3 that do go, they clown. So I show back up, and sit through all them feelings and shit, man. And my life's got tremendously better, man. You know what I mean? And like I got tired. You got to be careful, man. Like my message usually comes from the people I don't want to hear, right? Like the people that I usually listen to and tune in, like George and Anthony and Hank, all these things. They say things that may change my life, but like the real hits come from like people you don't expect.
That's right.
Right? And I was sitting in the hole, right? I was sitting in the bucket. My clean date ain't when I went to jail. I used the whole time I was down there, right? And I was sitting in the hole. It was December 21st. My son's mother brought my kid down to see me for Christmas. I'm in stripes. I got walked to the visit on chains and a dog leash. And my son didn't sign up for it, right? He didn't have an understanding at 3 years old as to what was going on in his dad's life. My son's mother, I got on a visit. My son's mother said, "Brian, you're wrecked." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm in jail. How can I be high?" And I was completely blasted, right? But she had said something to me that changed my life. She said, "Brian, what are you going to do for me and your son when you get out of jail?" And I didn't have an answer, right? I spent the last 27 months fucking around down jail, doing absolutely nothing. And she said, "Brian, you can't stay out of jail in jail."
Damn.
because I continually went to the hole, right? And she was 100% right. And I went back to my cell that night, and I had a grapevine in my cell. It's the only piece of literature I could find that you can get in a hole. And it's like, not the fellowship that I choose to work today, but it gave me what I needed at that point in time in my life. And I knew what I needed to do. It's like, stop taking something at first, right? That was the most important. So I, once I got out, man, I've been through some shit. I just, had about 16 months, right? I've been these last 16 months ain't been easy. The first 90 days after I got out was tough. I've experienced deaths after deaths around here. I've experienced many positive things too, right? Like I said, I ran around the city of Pittsburgh with a lawnmower, a weed whacker, and a blower, and a truck that my son's mother helped me get, and started my own business, right? I after about having a little time, I got back. My business partner Anthony seemed fit that had me back involved with these houses, right? Because he knows at the end of the day, this shit helps me, man. Because I get them type of dudes. I get it, man. I've been there so many times. I love going to my house, one of the houses, and just sitting there with them. We are heavily involved in these houses. You know what I mean? I recently just started my own little outreach thing down here in the Pittsburgh area, trying to figure that whole thing out. My sponsor got me plugged in. I'm working in out at the treatment center down this way. You know what I mean? Like I said, they say it's hard to hit a moving target, right? So I've been busy, and my life's been full. On top of having a 6-year-old kid whose mother I'm no longer with, who is very resentful at me, so she makes it hard for me to see him, and all these other things are going on in my life. And I fall short too, you know what I mean? I create issues in my life. Whenever I went through that breakup, I went through a little phase as to where I thought the solution lied in like brunettes and blondes.
Brunettes and blondes. Here, Richie.
And I came to find out after about 90 days of doing that I ain't like hurting people clean.
Didn't sit well with you either.
And the way I was behaving didn't sit well with my spirit, right?
Yeah,
Carl?
I know
Didn't
that.
sit right with my spirit. And when someone asked me to go to a podium and share, I was lying because I felt my spirit was telling me I was lying because I wasn't really portraying who I was. I was really running around hurting girls.
Come on.
This thing's a learning process, man. This thing's, I've come to find out, is a lot more than just not taking nothing. Right? Because I can get real confused, man. You know what I mean? All them things that I was on my knees praying for in that cell on December 21st that I got, they all required God's help. But once I have these things, I can find myself jumping out of my bed like there's a fire, putting the coffee on and running out the door and forgetting to hit to my knees again. So I got to check back in with God. I fall short, man, in that area on a regular basis. And I'll say, I'll just pray in my car. And I'll say a quick little prayer, but that I'm really not touching base with him.
Nah.
Really not touching base with him, man. Because like once my pockets get a little bit fatter, my God gets a little bit smaller. That's been my story. And it ain't ever worked. It always got me a bid. It always got me 11 half, 23, 1 to 2s, 2 to 4s, all that. That's all it ever got me. I'm here. I have the opportunity to do this right here tonight through God's grace and mercy. This is a fucking God piece, man. And it's only God's mercy that I even have an opportunity to do this tonight. That I'm plugged in enough in a 12-step fellowship that I managed to not take nothing while they take the meetings away. And that's what revealed this to me. And I said that at the beginning as to where that meetings are nice for fellowship. It's really nice to be plugged in, connected with your friends and all this other stuff. But it's nowhere near the solution. That's a very minute part of this thing, man. For me, it's showing up for another addict, because Anthony always told me that the only way you keep your clean days is by being a part of somebody else's. God and the steps, man. I don't know, man. Like I said, my life's good, man. I appreciate Carl asking me to come down here and share. If I said anything to help somebody tonight, it wasn't me. It was a God piece. I'll just tell you guys how I did it. I don't know. I just had enough. I got to the end of myself, Carl. I got to the end of myself. That's it.
Yeah, we got to get up though soon. You know what I mean? And all this COVID and stuff going on, man. I was supposed to share at one of the speaker jams out there, and
We'll get you down here.
One of the predecessors, called. It was crazy because I said, "Damn, I got to get back run a show," and then they got me to share out Delaware. I'm like, "Yo," hey, the fellowship comes first.
Well, you was on the Zoom in Delaware.
Yeah, I should have told you. It happened so fast. I'm like, oh shit, that comes first before this. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And that's absolutely. It does, man. And like I said, I got judged a lot. Man, that's all. Much love and respect to you, man. Thank you for coming on. For real.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. You have a blessed night.
My man.
Amen. That was some good stuff, man. He rocked the show. So we doing it back to back. Let me pray. Let me charge. Let me charge up. Let me pray out. And we're going back to back with it. So stay tuned. We have a comedian. Our Lord Almighty God, I just want you to be with me, and I hope that message resonated with somebody's spirit and touch their spirit on a deeper level, Lord God. And just be with me as I go live next, and just protect the people that is out there struggling with this insidious coronavirus and give them healing, Lord God. And we are blessed, man. Me and Richie Berg are blessed, man. Send the blessings down on us, Lord God. And just pray for all the sick and suffering addicts out there in the world just to find recovery. Amen. So I'm going back to back.